Welcome back to our latest podcast, New Steeple.
Same people.
I'm Scott.
And my name is Jeff.
Do you like our little banter there?
Love that.
Okay.
I'm Jason.
This is Jason.
You didn't even let us introduce you.
We were going to introduce you.
I felt left out.
Well, we have a thing that we do now, and we kind of feed off each other's. Dude, come on! I just toss it up to you. Okay, that's all right. Well, we're here in another episode, and we're very excited because we get to talk to our youth minister here. Jason Creed has been here at our church now as of this point in the podcast series. How long have you been here?
3 years, almost. June 1st.
So you've been here 3 years. Jeff, you've been here
2.
Okay, so if you're listening to this podcast, which I'm sure it's going to have a lot of legs, it's going to be going for years to come. This is in the early days of their ministry here. But yeah, this is great because there's a lot of, I would say there's a lot of opportunity whenever it comes to our emerging generation, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, absolutely. You hear people say all the time, the teens are the church of the future and the church of tomorrow. And I mean, that's true. There's also a lot of things that make them the church of today, So there's a lot of potential in our teens, and I see that, and I'm excited about that.
Well, why don't you take just a minute to, if we have any listeners or viewers who are maybe new to Johnson Street, or since you and I have been here, we've kind of had some COVID time too, so maybe there's some people out there that haven't got to know you as well yet. Why don't you just kind of tell people who you are and a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, so my name is Jason Creed, and I'm married to Elise, and we've got 3 beautiful girls, Callie, Juliet, and Madison. Madison just turned 1 Sunday. Yesterday, Monday.
Get it right.
April 25th. And Juliet is about to turn 3, and Callie is about to turn 6. Wow. So we've been here for almost 3 years now, and we're loving it. In small town San Angelo, it definitely feels like home, and yeah.
That's awesome. Jeff, you and Jason have a lot in common. I mean, you were in youth ministry for how long?
I was in full-time youth ministry for about 20 years.
Yeah, and so it's kind of, I'm sure you're in a new position now, but it's kind of neat to be able to feed off of each other.
It's been nice to not have to do youth ministry, and I could tell my own kids to be like, "Hey, sorry, I'm not your youth minister anymore. Go talk to Jason." So yeah, it's been different, but it has been neat to kind of view it on the outside looking in.
So you started 20 years ago, Jason. You started when?
I'm in my 10th year now.
Okay, so
right at the end of 2011.
Okay, so what has changed? I know this has been an interesting last couple of years, but from the moment you got into youth ministry to now, what are some changes that maybe you have seen?
Yeah, well, I mean, kids are different for one thing. We have another generation, Generation Z. Is this current the kids who are currently in youth ministries are Generation Z, whereas when I started, it was the tail end of the millennial generation. So there's a lot of differences there, just with how kids interact with each other, and nowadays all the kids have smartphones, whereas maybe one lucky kid or privileged kid had an iPhone. Back when I started, but families are different also, and our cultures are different, and schools are different. A lot of things are different. COVID, has made a huge difference in the world and the way that we interact with it. But there are some of the challenges that are present now that weren't really challenges like when I was growing up in the youth ministry. We were always there, whenever the doors were open. And I was there unless I was contagious and I wasn't allowed to go. Mom made me stay home, if I had the flu or something. But we were always there, and that was, I grew up in a big city, or bigger than here, 300,000, and that's just how church life was. That's how youth group life was, and there are so many more things today that are vying for our attention, with the way jobs are structured, with the way practices are structured for sports and for band and everything in between. There are traveling teams. Traveling teams weren't a thing when I was a kid. I never really remember ever hearing about a traveling team until I got to college. But, church is different now. And a lot of the things even that I learned in school, as far as like curriculum and how to teach, those models were based on, the given that people would be there, wouldn't be missing half the lessons in the series, So it's changed in a lot of ways, and we're trying to adapt. We're trying our best to adapt and, start with the goal of like, what are students going to get if we only get one connection point with them a week instead of, the two or the three that we thought we would have, when I went to school. So yeah, it's changing a lot, and we're trying to be flexible, I think, is the main thing, because sticking to the old model is a surefire way to fail, and trying to be flexible with learning about the current generation and where youth ministry is moving, and trying new things. And I think that's really important to be able to be flexible and be willing to change how we do things.
I know that culture changes regardless, and I know that every generation does shift and adapt and mold, but you're having to reimagine how you do things, kind of like we're having to reimagine how we do our education program. How do we compete or even match up to a lot of the mediums that people are accustomed to? How can we up our not only presentation but engagement to where it's something people really are wanting to be involved in? And with you, it's got to be so hard because these kids have got so many other options today. Whenever I was a kid, church is what we had. We didn't have anything else on Sunday night. We didn't have anything else on Wednesday night. And now there are so many other options. And I know it was probably the same with you, Jeff, even 20 years ago through that first decade of your ministry.
Yeah. I mean, we spent the first 4 years in a little West Texas town, and football was life there, and academics was, a strong pull. And so, yeah, even a long time ago, 20 years ago, that was definitely, you kind of felt like you were competing for, just kids' attention.
Right.
It's tough. So what are some things, like, what are your hopes and dreams for, what do you want the youth ministry here at Johnson Street to kind of look like? Or, what are you trying to do with our youth and young families here?
Yeah, we want our youth group to be, number one, to be a place where students feel like they can belong, and that they don't have to change who they are or act a certain way, to gain acceptance. I think the biggest thing in life that everyone seeks is acceptance.
Because that's a fear whenever they come into a group.
Right.
They're trying to either adapt or die, right?
Right.
into a group.
So we want students to feel like they belong just because of who God created them to be, God's creation. And we want them to feel safe. We also want them to understand that they exist for reasons beyond themselves. I think that's a big thing that everyone has to navigate or begin to understand, in our teenage years, that we don't exist just for ourselves. And it's a big transition, because when we're kids, we're selfish and we whine, and we some of us don't grow out of that fully. I know, I have my moments for sure, but that's a transition time where people are starting to understand that life's not just about me, it's about others. And so for our students to have some ownership in being a member of the youth group, understanding this is about our group, this is about not only when I show up, it's not just about what I can get out of this experience, it's about what I can give to my friends, my youth group family. So a place to belong, a place to grow, outside of just yourself, and then a place to connect with Christ and encounter who He is, and begin to develop that personal relationship with Jesus that a lot of our kids who are, church kids who grew up in the church, they know the songs, they know the Bible stories, they know everything that their parents and wonderful Sunday school teachers and Wednesday night teachers have taught them. But at some point that starts to become their own faith, and not just the things that they've been taught, and they have to make a choice. Like, do I really believe this stuff? And that moment usually happens in the youth group age, and so a place where they can experience Jesus in new ways, where they can be stretched a little bit and grow and wrestle with some tough questions. So those are some of the things that we want our youth ministry to be for our students.
Yeah, that's great. I love the idea of helping them to see outside of themselves, and that's so key. I know the church we were in up in North Idaho, we got to do quite a few mission trip type service project things, and I know that really made a difference. Our oldest son got to go to Nicaragua with us, and that really kind of opened his eyes to just the different kinds of people that are out there and situations they're living in. One of the things that you do here that I had never heard of before is called Camp Barnabas, and I think that kind of speaks to exactly what you're talking about. Yeah. Can you tell us a little bit about what Camp Barnabas is?
Yeah, so Camp Barnabas is known as the happiest place on earth, the real happiest place on earth, and it's a camp in Purdy, Missouri, for people with special needs, and their main weeks are in the summertime. They also do smaller events during the year, but summer's their big, week-to-week time. They have church groups come in and serve as the one-to-one counselors for campers, and they have different weeks so that they have similar, groups of campers come in. So our week that we go is for campers age 7 to 16, I believe. It might be 7 to 18. And they have, the campers have physical and mental disabilities as well as autism and Down syndrome. And they are God's creation. They are special. And Camp Barnabas is a place where they can come and get a camp experience, a summer camp experience that so many of our kids have grown to love and enjoy, and yet they don't feel different. They can feel just like everybody else. And Camp Barnabas does such a great job at training their summer staff. So we have, like, in a cabin, we'll have 2 Camp Barnabas summer staffers, and those kids are anywhere from just out of high school, like just graduated, a month ago, to young adults out of college, but they do a great job encouraging us and leading us. And then each cabin has either a cabin mom or dad, which is an adult 30 or older, and they just serve as an assistant, a third, someone to do the laundry for the campers. And then students age 16 through 29 are able to be missionaries. They call them missionaries, and they're the one-on-one counselors who hang out with their camper for 23 hours a day. They get a 1-hour break in the afternoons during nap time. But those 23 hours are spent, taking care of your camper, everything that they need. Some campers are more independent, some are fully dependent, but whatever it is, our missionaries step up and do that.
And it's not easy.
No, it's not easy. Last year, we had a couple of cabins. All of our guys and girls were in 2 cabins, and there were a lot of challenging moments. I tried to help prepare our students for a tough week and for some work that would be challenging. I told them it will stretch you. It will make you grow a lot. It'll get you out of your comfort zone. But I mean, we got there, and I really thought, after the first day, we might have had the most challenging cabin, and
let's give it to Jason. He'll handle it. People can handle it.
We had a tough couple first days, and especially being our group's first year, none of our students had gone. Neither of my interns had been before, but well, I guess 2 years ago. But it was a great experience, and by the end of the week, we had kind of figured out, how to work with our campers, and we had figured out several of them were nonverbal, which is the biggest challenge.
Right.
It's just figuring out how to take care of someone based on a packet that you get, an information packet provided by their parents or guardians, just about like, hey, these are some things they like, these are what they don't like, and just by the middle towards the end of the week, we felt like we were catching our stride, and we learned a lot. I mean, there's no experience like Camp Barnabas, and there's no feeling like the feeling of being able to give of yourself to make sure one of these campers has a blast for the week,
Right.
and as well as helping their parents or guardians just be able to have a little bit of a break, because they do that all 51 of the other weeks of the year. And walking away from that, I think all of our students felt that they had encountered God through that week, and through learning about how to live more for someone else than themselves, how to put someone else's priorities and needs above their own. And I mean, for many of them, it was some of the first real experiences having to do that. And also they experienced that on a level that most people have never experienced.
Right.
So it's a big leap, but
Talk about
there's nothing like it.
practical example of what God does for us each and every day.
Yeah, there are a lot of God moments where you can get a picture into what God does for you, for sure.
Yeah. That's great. And the thing that I love about your ministry here is that, you are doing your best to make sure that kids aren't just coming here to have, things to do. It seems like a lot of my youth group experiences were almost to just keep us occupied in a healthy way.
Right.
And now they're occupied all over the place. But
Right.
what they really need is connection, and so I really like what you do with you call them huddles. And I know some people in our church, they have the question, why do you do that? Why do you have huddles? And, so I just like to give you an opportunity to kind of tell us a little bit about what that is and why you do it.
Yeah, so Huddles existed before I came, and I was excited that they were a thing here. Huddles is basically it's grade specific small groups for your students, and they meet once they get to high school. They meet together in homes, and I had tried to do it at my last church in Grand Prairie in the Metroplex, but our challenge there was that we had people coming from
They're all over, aren't they?
30 minutes away, and then if it's during a traffic time, high traffic, it could be an hour or so. Being in a smaller town where almost everybody lives, 15 to at the most, I think 30 minutes away, but there's never any traffic, so it's nice. But being able to get together on a Wednesday night is when we have them in someone's home and just be together with other kids your age,
Right.
is a valuable experience, and it's nice to get to have conversations based around the things that are relevant to your age group, your experiences, your grade, the things that are happening with school, with dating, with navigating the exchange of responsibility between you and your parents, and there's a lot of value in being able to experience life together in that close, intimate setting. So I was excited to try and continue those, and we've had to make some tweaks, especially through COVID, and not being able to meet in person together for a while was a big challenge. But we've combined some groups. Right now we have our middle schoolers are meeting together. Our 6th through 8th graders meet together in the youth room, and our freshmen are meeting in room 212 just down the hall, and it's a little easier for them. Our huddle leaders don't live as close, so it's easier for families who have students in multiple groups to just drop them off here since they're not driving yet. But we've got them a place in room 212 that they meet. And then our sophomores, juniors, and seniors are meeting together. They've combined, and they switch back and forth between a couple of homes. But we've got a tight-knit group and a loving and welcoming group, and that's part of that's our main focus and where we try to help kids feel like they can belong, and that happens through Huddles.
And to have a consistent adult presence there,
Yeah,
who are feeding into them and encouraging them is huge.
right. Yeah. So each huddle has 3 to 4 adults in it to be that consistent set of adults that travels with them, from most of them from 6th up through 12th grade, up through graduation, so that they have that close, meaningful relationship. And a lot of those relationships are even closer than the relationship that I have with the students, because you can't replicate those moments.
Yeah.
But I love being able to empower our adults, our people who serve in the youth ministry, and I love hearing those stories on Senior Sunday of how something happened at camp, and now is the moment to say, now's the moment to come out and say, hey, that was me that broke the thing, and but also those meaningful ones to say, like, you guys mean a lot to me, and talking about the huddle leaders and what that relationship has meant. Just someone who's there, someone who opens their door, to the students, someone who shares life. That's a really valuable thing. So we love Huddles, and I'm thankful that we're able to do them here.
Yeah.
So, ultimately we want to introduce our youth to Christ and help them, develop their own faith, like you mentioned, and make it their own. And so I know one of the things that really impacted our oldest son, just in the short time that he was here, was going on the Quest retreat. And that's kind of geared more to that more serious level of, all right, you're serious about following Christ, you want to be a disciple. Yeah. This is kind of geared towards you. I don't know much about Quest. Can you kind of share with us what
Sure.
Quest retreat is all about?
Yeah, so Quest has it's a complicated thing, because we don't tell students everything that's going to happen beforehand, because it's best experienced without thinking through a lot of it. It's best experienced in the moment. So we don't share a lot about what we do there, and that to some people is a little mysterious, and but it is basically it's a retreat where we can go a lot deeper. Huddles provide a great moment for us to bond together, but just being 1 hour long and people rolling in, and there's it's high energy and people are talking, and I know it's a challenge to get the lesson done even in that 1 hour, but there's a lot of time. It happens over a weekend, from a Friday night through a Sunday lunch, and it's a moment for our teens to take a deeper look at themselves. It's for high school age students, and
they're split, guys and girls.
There's a guys' weekend and there are girls' weekends, and it's a place where you can be open and honest. There's a lot of confidentiality. We don't nothing that you share there is going to be talked about outside of the retreat. So it's a very safe place, and it's a place where we try to take a look at what is really going on. And there's a lot of life we just kind of go through on cruise control.
Yeah.
And without thinking about things like spiritual warfare, or where is Satan trying to trip me up today. But at Quest, we pull the curtain back a little bit and really try to take a look at that and focus in on, like, what lies is Satan telling me about myself and who I am, and can I recognize that and identify that, and then choose to focus on the truth that God has to say about who I am, the truth that God has to say to correct those lies. And it's a really special weekend. all the students that I've ever taken have loved it, and many of them have taken the time to come back as staff members. After you go through your initial weekend, you're invited to come back as staff, and I know Hayden got to do that for our spring retreat this year, and I think he really enjoyed it. So Quest started with the guys' side, and then the girls' side came along. We actually, it's based out of Midland at the Golf Course Road Church of Christ, and that's a church that we go to Camp Barnabas with, and we also go to camp with. But they started a girls' weekend, and we were able to take one of our students to the most recent girls' retreat.
Oh, yeah.
We're looking at trying to do that some more, and so we'd love to expand that. But there just is not another place or time that we can take to go as deep as Quest allows us to go. And there are some conversations that students are they want to have, but they don't have a place to have it.
Yeah.
And Quest is how we try to provide that for them.
Yeah, that's great. And there's so many things that you are doing, and there's so many opportunities, and what we wanted to do is just to let our people know a little bit more about how many irons you've got in the fire, how many things you've got going, but also why you do it. And our next generation truly is going to be the future of the church, and I know we know that on some level, but a lot of times we just think it's naturally going to happen, and we just think, oh yeah, put them in youth group, they'll be fine.
Right.
Just let them get together. But there's so much more that goes into it, and so we wanted to kind of end today with just asking you to let us know what is it that you need for your ministry. What are some things for those people that are listening or watching? What is it that that you really need to be able to do your job well?
Yeah, thank you. The first thing is kind of what you said. A lot of times we think, oh yeah, they're the church of tomorrow, but recognizing that they're also the church of right now, and
That's
that
right.
they are full members, just as all of us are members, and just recognizing that the way that we do everything, everyone has preferences about how we do church and how things are run. Just understanding like that our students have an equal share in that. They might not have an equal voice, but they care about what happens, and they care about the direction that our church is going. They care about our vision process, and just understanding that if we just expect them to learn to like what we like, then we're more likely to lose them.
Right.
And just giving them honor, giving them a seat at the table, and saying, hey, we want to see you in leadership. We want to see you, leading our church, representing our church in the world, and we want to see what you do, at things like Camp Barnabas and mission trips and service opportunities. So just recognizing our students, as
Just being aware of them.
equal members of the church, and then also just one of the biggest things that they need is that acceptance, and feeling like they belong on a personal level. So big picture, honoring them as people, members who matter, and then close up, being able to jump in and get involved and give your time and build some relationships with students. There are no adults who are, who know how to interact with a Generation Z kid, completely. So don't worry if you don't feel qualified. A lot of times I don't feel qualified. I'll ask kids sometimes, hey, is this cool if I say this? And, I'm teasing, being funny, but they'll say, no, don't say that. That's not cool anymore. But just someone who's willing to be themselves and someone who's willing to be open. And we have a lot of volunteer. Like if you're just willing to do that, I'll help you find a spot. We have availability for leaders at Camp Victory, Huddles, Quest, Sunday morning class. anything and everything. So I can use people. So if you have a passion for students and you want to be involved, just let me know, and we'll find a place that we can plug you in.
And it really is just showing up, right?
Yeah.
Just being present.
That's all a student wants is to know that a person cares about them. You don't have to dress cool. You don't have to talk cool. Just an adult who is available and who cares about them.
You know, looking at teens who keep their faith into their adulthood. You know, some of the reasons for that is because the faith they see people express at church is the same faith they see them express outside of the church. So that's important too. Be the same,
Absolutely.
Be real both places. And also I think, and I think maybe we've talked about this, but the idea of having non-parental adults feeding into them and encouraging them and noticing them is huge in them maintaining their faith even after they get out of high school and into college, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So a lot of times there are things that we experience or go through or do as teenagers that we don't really want to talk to our parents about. And having another adult that you can trust
It's huge.
is vital. So yeah.
Yeah, that's great.
Cool. Well, Jason, thank you so much for joining us today. It's been great learning a bit more about the youth ministry here at Johnson Street.
Nice hoodie.
Thank you.
I didn't wear my hoodie today, but maybe next time. Right. JSY wear is always available for anyone who wants to purchase it. Am I correct?
Yes.
That's right. Good. A little plug for you. Well, hey, thanks for coming. And join us next time. We're going to be talking more with people who do things in our church, both staff and otherwise, and give you a little deep dive into kind of why we do things around our church. So,
And if you have any questions or things that we didn't talk about that you'd like us to mention, feel free to drop us a comment, send us an email. We'd love to have that conversation with you.
yeah, anything you want to know about why we do things around here, let us know. We'd love to have an episode on that. So for now, I'm Scott.
I'm Jeff.
And I'm Jason.
There you go. And we'll see you next time.
God bless.